Hello everyone and welcome to this new series of mine where I'm going to basically do some video guides on how to mod Project Zomboid. To do that, I'm going to base myself a lot on the Project Zomboid wiki and the modding section of it. You can easily find it by typing this or something similar, and you get the modding section of the wiki. I'm the one who made a lot of these articles, a lot of these pages and guides. They detail a lot of things. Of course, there might be informations missing, but overall, to get started, it's a great place to start. In this case, we're going to focus on the section named Mod Structure. I'm going to showcase you how to create a basic mod structure for your mod to get loaded in the game, and from there you can start working on it. You can implement a lot of things like clothing items. You can do some programming with Lua and other bits. To start off, we're going to look at the game files themselves, because you need to understand how they are structured. To find the game files, you have a small guide here on how to do that, but we're going to go through it in this video. To access the game files, you can go in Steam, in the game, the properties. From here, you can access installed files, browse, and you will find this kind of folder. In my case, it might be a bit different from you, since I'm on Linux, but basically, usually you end up in a folder called Steam Apps, common on the game name. In this, there's a lot of different folders. The main important one that you're going to get to be interested in is a media folder right here. And another one which is interesting usually is a zombie folder. In this one, you have all the Java assets, all the Java code, and usually we do decompile it when we want to look through the source files of the game to understand how various bits work. In the media folder, however, you're going to have most of the folders that you can have in your own mod. So you can create animations by setting up anim sets and a folder called animx. You can have Lua files, you can have your maps, you can have models, sounds, scripts, which are used to define items, models, vehicles, UI, usually textures, and of course, a folder named textures. So for a mod structure, you basically want something which contains a media folder. And so we are going to see more in details how this is done. To set up a basic mod structure, we are going to go back on the wiki page of the mod structure. You have two different places where you can put your mods, the Zomboid mods and Zomboid workshop folders. The Zomboid folder is called the cache folder. You have a guide on the wiki on how to access it. It's located in the page game files and the cache folder section. On Windows, it's located at this path. You simply type this in a file explorer and it will directly put you inside this folder. And then the Zomboid folder, of course. You can change this cache folder with a startup parameter. Here I'm not going to showcase this. If you're interested in it, you can look into it deeper if you want. To access this folder, well, you usually use this path. In my case, I'm on Linux, so its path I already know. It's located here. Oh, my username and Zomboid. It might depend completely on your system. If you're on Windows, it's not going to be this path. But basically, you're going to end up in this folder. In this folder, there's a lot of different subfolders. The most important ones are the mods one, the saves that hold your saves, and the workshop one. The mods folder is not used to create mods. You can technically work from it, but it's not suggested that you do. If you're interested on the details of that, I suggest you check out the mods or workshop section of the mod structure page. It's going to explain why you should not use the mods folder, but instead use the workshop folder. To sum it up, basically, when you work from the mods folder, you will have to move your mods in workshop at some point when you end up having to upload your mod. So it's easier to directly work from the workshop folder, but the mod structure is a tiny bit different. There's extra folders in the workshop folder than the mods folder. This is detailed in this page, and we're going to look into it. A disclaimer, however, that this cache folder is the one that should hold the mods. If we go back to the folder of the game files, here, then we go back to the main folder, you will notice that there's a workshop folder in here, and you should not use this workshop folder. It's actually completely useless for you, and the mods that are put inside it are not recognized in game. So be careful when you're making your mod structure to not be in this folder, but to be in the cache folder instead. This one. It's very important. To start off, I suggest you download Visual Studio Code. It's an application which is used by the community, and because we have a few extensions that can be used to make mods, they help you basically. But it's an integrated development environment, and it's very useful because you can have an overview of your all mod files in a single window. I'm going to showcase that by first off creating a new folder in the workshop folder, which is going to be your mod. I'm going to name it my mod. From here, we're going to open the folder. It's basically going to open your mod as a workspace. When you open your mod folder as a workspace, you're going to end up with this kind of screen. In here, on the left side, you have the File Explorer. It's going to show the folder content of your mod. We need to create a folder to start off, which is called Contents. This Contents folder, if we go here, is right under your mod folder in Workshop, and it's basically going to hold the content which is uploaded from the in-game uploader or an outside uploader. You choose whichever you want to use, and everything which is under the contents folder is going to get uploaded on the Steam Workshop. The files that are alongside it are ignored for the most part. You have the workshop text file, which is used by the game to have the various uploading settings for your mod, and you have the preview.png, which is used by the game to upload your mod. There's limitations on these files. For example, the preview.png file needs to be of 256 by 256 resolution. The workshop.txt file needs to follow specific conventions on writing, but in this case we won't go over this because those files are not needed for your mod to be recognized in game. only the other folders under the contents folder is required. So we're going to create mods folder, like detailed here. And in here, you need to create at least one subfolder, which is basically one of your mods that you can activate in game. So one folder is one mod to activate. The second one can be a second mod. So let's say, for example, we create my mod 1. This is going to be one mod. We can create a second one, which is my mod 2. And those two can be uploaded together, since everything which is under contents get uploaded. In this case, we're going to focus on a single folder for now. One extra thing to be aware of is because only the contents folder is recognized and the workshop.txt file and preview.png file are recognized, you can actually have other folders here. This is very useful if you want to store assets linked to your mod. For example, an image folder where you can put various assets. You can put Blender files. You can put some scripts like Python scripts if you used those to create your mod, and other bits you want. But these don't get uploaded and are not recognized by the game. You can use that to your advantage too. To use a Git, you can initialize a repository. If we go in the mod folder, we now have a Git folder. But I'm not going to go in detail on that because this is a more complex part. But this folder is not getting uploaded, so you can use that to your advantage. In the contents folder, we have my mod, and in build42 you would create a media folder and a mod.info file. However, in build42 this changed a tiny bit. Basically, you have the media folder that we mentioned earlier about the game files. If you remember, we saw the media folder in the game files. The mod.info file is going to detail the information about your mod for the game to recognize it. In build41, this is the structure. In build42, however, it's a bit different. If we go at this section, the mod folder section, you will find the build41 structure. So we see my mod, media, the mod.info file. You can have other files like a poster.png that we're going to see more in detail later. But in build42, you have two extra folders, actually. You have the versioning folder and the common folder. The versioning folder is basically used to tell what assets need to be loaded based on the game version. The common folder, however, is used for like files that are pretty heavy and that can't be duplicated in multiple folders based on the versions. The versioning folder currently at 42.12 version is mostly useless because every game updates are instantly imposed to the players. But later down the line, we might see Zone create some versions of their game, of their releases, like build41 here, where you have previous versions that can be accessed. The reason for that is the switch of these versions, like 4173 to 4177, might have broke some saves or some multiplayer servers, and so they gave like previous versions available for players to continue to play on their previous saves without breaking everything. At the time I'm making this video, we are at build42 unstable, and so since it's unstable, they don't give too much of a about that. They simply force the updates on everyone. So in our case, well, we go simple and we make a 42 folder, which is going to be loaded for every single build 42 versions. And we're going to make the common folder. In this tutorial, the common folder is going to be empty. But this folder is mandatory. If you don't put it, your mod is not getting recognized. So it's very important that you don't forget about this folder. In the 42 folder, we're going to have the same structure as build 41, a mod.info file and the media folder. When you have a 42 folder, and let's say a 42.1 folder, the versioning folder that is getting loaded is the most recent one, or the closest at least to the current version. So let's say right now we're at 42.12, it's going to be 42.1 which is getting loaded. The 42 folder here is not getting loaded. It's very important, there's not a mixing of both. There's only a single one which is getting loaded. The common folder, however, everything is getting loaded. This is useful, like if you have like model files or image files that are 10 megabyte in size, for example. You don't want them in the versioning folder. So usually the common folder is used for shared assets between versions. The mod.info file is what we're going to see now. There's a wiki page about it. You can easily access it with the research tool, like any other page. This page goes in detail about this file. Basically, you're going to have parameters that you put inside the file to define your mod. Some parameters are the name, ID, the author, description, URL, and other stuff. You need at least an ID for your mod and a name. Here I'm going to name my mod 1, and the ID I'm going to set it as my mod 1. When you have a parameter, you basically have a key and a value separated by an equal sign. The ID is suggested to be without spaces. The reason for that is if we go on the Steam Workshop and we take a random mod available, you will see at the end that there's actually the mod ID that we define in the mod.info file. So in this case, the author named it this way. And the reason you don't want to have spaces in it is for referencing. Because when a user wants to find your mod, if he knows the mod ID, he can easily find your mod by simply typing it in the search tool of the workshop. If the ID has spaces in it, Steam basically is going to search the words individually. And it's not going to be very easy sometimes to reference your mod if you have a generic name. If they use the workshop ID directly, so for example in our file you have my mod 1, if they use it directly they can easily find it instantly. You may have noticed that there's a second ID which is next to the mod ID. This is the workshop ID. This workshop ID is basically the link of the Steam item of your Steam mod, and it's not used by the game in any way, so you don't need it for your mod to be recognized. Let's see what other parameters we have available. You have a description. The description is a bit interesting because you can actually customize it with colors and other stuff, but I'm not going to go in detail on those parameters. Basically they use rich text panel tags that the game uses for some UI elements, and I might make a proper guide on this later in another video. You have the auto parameter. So in this case, you can put yourself, your name. You can put other names too. However, the game doesn't recognize those parameters individually. They show them in the same field. You have the URL. You can use it to link your own coffee for donations, for example. However, do note that the players might not be able to open the URL if it's not approved by the indie stone directly. You can use some tricks for that, but I'm not going to show that here. Another important parameter is the poster one and the icon one. The poster is an image file which is located next to the mod.info file. This poster image, if I take an example, so let's say this image I have on my computer, I named it preview.png, and you're basically going to reference the poster this way. The poster needs to be a PNG file. Most image files in the game need to be PNG file. If it doesn't work, it might be because your extension might be wrong for your poster image, so you might want to change to a PNG file. For the icon, you can use something else, so maybe something like, for example, this image is fairly big for an icon. You might want to do something smaller. In this case, if you don't really care about it, you can just reuse the same image as a poster. One important factor is that the poster parameter can have multiple ones. So let's say I want two images to show up in the game. So the first one is going to be the main poster for your image, and the second poster is going to be extra image to showcase your mod. So let's take an example. I'm going to take another image and add it this way. It's located at the same place as the other preview image and as the mod.info, and you simply add it this way. Other parameters are the mod version, so it's mostly you choose which version you're on. You can choose to be at 1.0.0 or whatever. There's no rules for that. It's mostly subjective. It depends on what you want to do. Another important parameter is a require parameter. This one is very interesting because it's going to be used to require another mod to be loaded alongside your mod. I'm going to showcase it a bit later. Other parameters which are way less important are the incompatible one, the load mode after, load mode before, category. The pack and tile depth, however, are important if you do mapping, for example, or tile making. The version min and version max, you can define for which version of the game your mod was made for. Usually you can just not care about it and you will be fine with it. But basically those parameters you usually don't really care about, unless for the pack and tile depth one if you do tile making mapping, of course. So to see what our mod looks like first in game, make sure you don't have another empty versioning folder or your game is not going to like it. And let's see what it looks like in game. Let's go into the mod manager. And let's search for our mod. So here you have my mod 1. You've got the informations we gave, the preview image, the first poster, the second poster. You've got the auto, the mod ID, which has a backslash first, the description, and the mod name, of course. You can see in the dependencies it's empty, and let's see what it does when we add a dependency. So for dependency, it's a require parameter. Let's create another mod to depend on. So how do we require my mod 2 to be activated for my mod 1 to work? In the require parameter, like we noticed in game, the mod ID starts with a backslash. This is specifically for build 42. So let's put the backslash and the mod ID we want to require. You have more information about that on the wiki page in case you need to. You can have like multiple requires. You simply have a comma separating them. Let's reload Lua. This is going to reset the mod loaded, the mod informations. Now we have my mod 1 and my mod 2. In my mod 2, so we've got the informations we gave it. And in my mod 1, we now have a dependency on my mod 2. If we activate my mod 2 alone, it activates alone, of course. And if we enable my mod 1, it enables my mod 2. This is basically it for this guide. From there, you can work on your mods. You can add anything you want. You can create subfolders to the media folder, depending on what you need. The textures folder, of course. You can have models and anything you want. You can have scripts, like we saw at the beginning. Now, you can have fun doing anything you want with modding. You can find other guides to do specifically what you want to do. You can maybe check other videos I made. See you!